So today I have Diandra Escobar with me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Last conversation was so much fun. So when you invited me, I was like, right away, yes.
I appreciate that. I know you have a lot going on in your world. And yeah, it was, I don't even know. Sometimes I should come with like when we talked, but it feels like forever ago. So I always enjoy kind of reconnecting, even if it's a year. And I think in today's time, years like 7 years, so much is happening with AI and with COVID back then. But I want to kind of, I don't know how much we went deep into SEO, but that's kind of one of your sweet spots. And I think it's a really fun topic, especially with AI and with everything going on. But let's just get this out of the way. Why do people think SEO is dead, or why is that assumption made? I can imagine there's maybe incentive if I don't do SEO and I want you to buy into my program, but like if I don't, what's the thought process that people think it's dead, and what's like the right thinking that they should have on SEO?
Honestly, lately, with kind of like building the business that I've been working, we've been moving away because I used to work at an SEO agency. We've been moving away from SEO as we know it, right? The thing is, SEO, when everyone thinks about SEO, everyone thinks about Google, right? So when someone does a Google search, I appear. But SEO applies to so many other platforms. And yes, SEO might be dead how it was in 2011. It might be not the same as it was before because it's evolving. So even though I'm not so focused on SEO at the moment at my business, you still have to talk about SEO because at the end of the day, what people are doing with social media, with search engines, is looking for information. They want to be educated, they want to understand a question that they have. The thing is, that's not only happening now in Google. So people think that SEO is dead because now people are kind of becoming more omni-channel, right? Now people are doing search on AI, on LLMs about certain subjects. Some friends of mine are actually creating an agency to help brands rank on LLMs. Like, it's still SEO, it's just in a different platform. I think the problem with people thinking that SEO is dead is thinking of it as Google. Maybe Google will never leave, and if it does, then it's just going to evolve and it's going to become something else. But people think about it as Google and they're like, oh, well, no one searches for this anymore on Google. They just through a community or anything else. But they're like, there's also LinkedIn SEO. Like, LinkedIn is ranking now for so many keywords. Reddit SEO exists as well. Reddit is ranking for so many keywords. AI is ranking for so many keywords. Slack communities, when you search for something for a keyword, that also appears and ranks. So I think the problem with people thinking that it's dead is that they're just thinking it very one-sided and they're not thinking of the actual definition of what search engine optimization is.
From SEO ranches to getting fired by a friend to then building a six-figure agency, Diandra tells it all in this episode, and one of my favorite things she shares at the very end is how internal peace is what we should all be striving for. So make sure to check that out if you don't listen to any of the episode. But if you want to up your content in your SEO game and learn what Diandra has learned from 2024, keep listening. If you want to learn more about Diandra, she's from season 3, episode 2. This is episode 8 of Friends of On Marketing, recorded on February 14th, 2025. This is a show where I bring friends, guests of On Marketing, back onto the show to talk anything. Emphasis on the anything. I hope it gets weird. Thank you for being here, and make sure to follow and support my friends. Their work is important, and so is yours. So reach out if you want to chat marketing, and maybe you'll get a future Friends episode. Before we get back to our conversation, let's get this out of the way. All opinions shared in this podcast are the individual views of the host and friends, guests, not those of their employers or associated organizations. This content is intended for informational purposes and should not be considered professional marketing guidance. Listeners act on the information provided at their own risk. Thank you again for being here. Love your point that like if we go to the word search engine optimization, it's really just how people search, what that engine is, and then you're optimizing for it. So personally, my wife, she uses TikTok to find all these recipes and all these things. So like it's so, my mind, when I finally got that, I was like, oh, it's not dead. It's just so, it's dispersed or it's everywhere and all these different. So I really like that you highlight that. But what is something that few people are talking about? Maybe it's this whole thought that it's like it's everywhere, it's all these different channels now, but what's something few people are talking about or focusing on in SEO that will be important, will be crucial in 2025 and beyond? Is it AI maybe trying to be in those results? What do you see people just not thinking, talking about that is really important for SEO?
Something that has happened a lot with clients that we've worked with is kind of the way you approach it. And the way you approach it is thinking more on search intent, on information gain, on leaving a little bit the whole skyscraper SEO ideology, which was amazing and still works for so many things, because some things really do need to be longer. They need to have an introduction to understand what we're talking about. Some topics are very, very complex and they need more of that like length within them. But now there's this fun term that I saw lately that happening a lot within the SEO world, and a lot of SEO professionals are using within their strategy, writers, and is like ranch style SEO. So instead of thinking of it as like a tall skyscraper that's like super long, you think about it more as like a ranch which has like different little tiny houses, so you kind of separate the information. So instead of doing a huge guide on cybersecurity 101 and having so many different like sections about cybersecurity, one is informational, one is more transactional, one is comparing different platforms that do cybersecurity. So this whole ranch style SEO is being a lot more specific within the content that you're creating and aligning it a lot more with the search intent without it being like it's all stuffed into one huge article and making people scroll like forever to be able to find what they're actually looking for.
Yeah, you had a post recently about the skyscraper versus ranch. I found that to be very fascinating. I think I maybe have heard of the ranch, but never really heard much about it or how to actually do it. So would you argue that the shift is based off of, and you kind of said this, but it's more based off of the way that consumers are trying to find information, that this guide nowadays just doesn't like align with our consumer mindset? Or why has that shift happened from skyscraper to the ranch?
It's both Google, the way that they are rewarding sites now, and also the way that search is happening in a day to day basis. Ideally, now what people want is if I'm looking for a certain type of question that I have or information that I want to find on the internet, I also want to hear someone's experience with it. So that's another thing that's happening within ranch style SEO, and it's happening in every single platform. Like now it's more personalities, now it's more about people. In every single platform we're going to be talking about in marketing. Either if it's LinkedIn, that's why Reddit is becoming so big, because it's like people are tired. Like we're tired of feeling of not knowing if it's AI that's speaking to us, if it's actually a real human, if someone is just pretending to know what they say they know. So this whole ranch style SEO is about being a lot more specific. So if you're going to create an article about the side effects of something, it's only going to be about the side effects. If it's going to be about the top benefits, and it's only going to be about the top benefits. If it's going to be about like it's just a way that humans feel more connected and more kind of like understood than not knowing if it's like, especially with AI, if it's just a huge article that's separated in guide, what is, top benefits, side effects, recipe, my experience, and then buy now. I think it's more of that. It's the whole thing of like humans want to see other humans and they want to feel like things are more specific to what they need.
I love that. And I would almost propose the idea that people, I don't want to say we don't like to read as much, but I think we're currently and moving more into this like bite-sized consumption mindset. So you have 30-second videos. I have just the side effects. I don't care to learn about what this and that is. So that makes a lot of sense that it's both Google, the machines kind of tilting us that way, but also the people wanting that. And then I think your point on the person or kind of personal marketing is so important because I've heard this frame that AI uses LLMs, large language models, where humans use LLMs as well, but little life moments. And that really hit me of like the AI can't go to the store and have an interaction that then I can pull into content as a cold open or something. It just feels so authentic. Like you don't need to even question, did AI write this? It's like a human's experience or parenting story or something that AI as a non-parent just couldn't create to be specific. It can create something that's very generic and instantly we can kind of sniff it. So I like that point that everything is leaning more towards person,
The thing
human.
is that AI tools are playing in a closed information sandbox, so they can't really contribute anything new. They're only repackaging what already exists. So that's the power of humans. Like we can create something new. And why this whole ranch style SEO, which is just another way of reflecting the world we are in now, is that content quality has decreased. There's a deterioration of it, and there's low quality generic material, and both humans and Google has had to respond by refining its algorithm to try to actually apply their EEAT, like part of their algorithm. It's like one of their most important aspects within the algorithm to help you rank. And then the whole AI generated content saturation just makes people want to feel like it's more targeted. It's a lot more, instead of, let's say, this long traditional SEO post that was super long and it covered a topic from various perspectives, maybe just spread this high quality content across numerous individual articles that are actually tailored to your user's search intent and to the stage of their journey. It's more of like leaving the whole crowded city of skyscrapers and actually being more targeted and perspective driven education out like in the whole open range.
I love that. I love that. I think we definitely probably covered that well enough. I think if you want to learn more, Diandra has some content. I'm not sure if there's any more off LinkedIn, but she does have LinkedIn content on that. So if you want to learn more about that, which I will as well, because it was kind of a new idea for me, and I think it's definitely aligns with the way I consume and the way that I think we've done in the past. It's very different. So I think we need to change. Now, talking about LinkedIn, you post a good amount on there. You've shared kind of your LinkedIn posting journey. Maybe if you could just share, if you taught a course on LinkedIn, being a content creator on LinkedIn, and it was called The One Thing. So you could only teach this course one thing about LinkedIn posting. What is the thing you choose to teach them? What is that one thing that would help them do better on LinkedIn posting? Maybe it's focus on your strategy. Maybe it's never have more than 2 sentences in a line to write the broetry. Like, what is that one thing you would teach this class?
That LinkedIn and many other platforms aren't that different to real life. I was actually talking to someone about LinkedIn strategy. I'm currently building an agency, and we're helping a ton of founders, C levels, actually build their personal brand on LinkedIn and on various other channels. And we were talking about this exactly, and it's like, there's no magic rule like in life. Like, yes, some LinkedIn professional is going to come and tell you your hook has to be this amount of characters, and it has to be 3 lines, and you need to do 10 carousels a month or else it's not going to work, and you need to do a selfie, and you need to post from 8 to 10, and you need to engage with 300 million people before you post. And then you just see some people that write huge blogs of text. They just randomly record themselves talking about something that they're subject matter experts, and they do amazingly. Then you have someone else that creates these nice animations and those videos. And then you don't understand, and you're like, "But did someone told me that I had to do this, this, and that, and I'm doing exactly that, and it's not working." It's like there are so many things that the digital landscape, let's call it like that, is very similar to real life. What is it? It's connecting with other people. It's you give and you take. And it's that. So if someone is already an expert in what they're saying and they're posting amazing types of content without the need of being like super super specific, and you need, of course there are things that people like me that work in this industry we know will help with the algorithm, and there's little, call them tips and tricks, but at the end of the day it's like the secret formula is like consistency. Like in life, you need to be consistent with whatever you do, or else it's not going to work. A one-time banger is great. It's the ego goes up, but it's not really going to do much for you. People are not going to remember you for a specific thing. Community. So imagine going into a conference and just wearing something very nice, but just standing there still and not speaking to anyone or at all. It's like, yeah, you look nice, the content looks nice, but you also need to go up to people and talk to them and respond. And if someone comes up to you and tells you, like, oh my God, your outfit is so cool, and you just, like, it's the same thing with
I
social
love that.
media. If you're creating amazing content and then someone comes and comments on your post and you never reply, you just post and ghost, you never comment on their stuff. It's just like in real life. Yeah, you can have a beautiful hat, the best makeup in the world, a nice dress, but if you're just standing there and you're not giving anything, people are just gonna get tired and like, okay, yeah, she looks cool, but like nothing. So consistency, which is like actually coming up, being there, community, giving as well, being a human, and just like creating connections. And then, if you want to get a little bit more fancy, then we can talk about design assets, formats, formatting, how to copywriting techniques. Because at the end of the day, there are skills that you need. It's not like you can just put anything out there. You need copywriting skills, formatting, and a lot of other stuff. But it's funny. I think it's like it really is just applied psychology. Marketing is applied psychology, and we kind of forget that, and we're always just looking for what's the perfect tip. And you see people trying to do that and not succeeding at the end.
Yeah, I think just the simple framework or mental model that like this is social media is another digital format of life. We would then do so many things differently because we wouldn't just pitch slap people unless you do that in real life. Like you, hey, my name's Jordan. I'm Diandra. Hey, here's my service. Buy it. Like maybe people do that, but rarely. It's like you kind of get to know the person, which should be done in social as well. So I really like that because I think too many times the tips we take aren't the ones, or even if we're doing engagement, it's for this like the slimy purpose of more people viewing us rather than like actually engaging with people. And I recently had a post about you are one of them, but I've created or connected with so many people over LinkedIn that it's just like that's the purpose of it. Sure, I've gotten this and that from it, not that much. I'm probably like a unique creator who's been on there for a while, who hasn't, I wouldn't say like blown up, but gotten to a level of like stardom. But it's still like the amount of things I've reaped by treating it like like real life rather than just like a broadcast channel. So I really like you bring that up because it's not something that like is intuitive. I think we can go to social media and we have like a different mindset. It's like I need to post and then leave, or you don't even think of it that way. It's like I want to spend the least amount of time there. Where like with real life, you kind of have to invest time in communities to get benefits. So like you have to be there, listen to people. So I find that helpful in my own approach to
And
LinkedIn.
everyone has different objectives. Maybe someone's objective is to be the next Mr. Beast on LinkedIn. And then your strategies just have to be very different. Yes, you can't just post something that isn't perfectly formatted, and you're not thinking about the time you're posting, and you're not engaging like crazy, and you're not making crazy animations in your video. Like, if that is your objective, then maybe you need to be very, very strict with what you're doing. And you have to post every single day, 7 days a week. You need to comment, you need to format it. Your first scroll stopper and your second line have to be perfectly formatted. If that's your objective, then yes, we can talk about that. And I can give you all the tips and tricks and the secrets to go viral that way. But maybe you're just a founder that wants to connect with other founders, create a nice community, get more leads, make more money, but not necessarily become the next number one LinkedIn creator. So your objectives have to be very different. And that always happens with any type of content strategy on any type of platform is it needs to align with the objectives you currently have. If those objectives, usually we always work with people that have a business. Usually their objectives are aligned to their business. So maybe it's more awareness, maybe it's more traffic, maybe it's more leads. So that's why the whole research part, and that's why content marketers are so, let's say, annoying with the whole research and the strategy and the objectives, but it's because it just really does depend.
No, I also that's a great point. I think there is definitely these later steps, but even some of that, like with the time to post, I have yet to really myself derive any value or see anybody aside from the ones posting like when to post. Like there's really, I struggle with some of those, so it is a tough thing. I find you can probably have a pendulum of one side, it's like I'm just going to post, I'm not going to care at all about formatting one big chunk of text, like all that, which I wouldn't kind of advise people to do. But then you have this other side where it's like very almost like over engineered, where like it's like really hard to like, I don't know, sometimes it's like there's a Reddit, I think it's like LinkedIn lunatics, and it's like, I don't know, like certain times I'm someone who likes LinkedIn, but it's like I get the people there like to share a story of your divorce and how it's just like sometimes it becomes this like weird thing where then it's like marketing can be done elsewhere. Like there's Instagram influencers, there's TikTok influencers, and like almost there's this LinkedIn archetype of an influencer. So I'm personally glad I haven't blown up to a point where people are like, you're the LinkedIn guy, because I know LinkedIn might not be here. So it's this like balance that I drive. And I think if a listener, wherever you're at, maybe you need to be more engineered. So you need to listen to what Diandra is saying about kind of how you format and all that. I think that's important. But if you're too over engineered, you're not going to keep consistent, then probably just post some things while still using basic hooks and some things like that. But I think, yeah, you can definitely over analyze it, but then you can also like do no strategy and then be like, it's not working, I'll stop. And it's like, well, you just did blocks of text. Like this is digital, not, paper. Like you can't do that. So I think it's cool to see different types of people succeed on LinkedIn, where some people are more focused on it where others. But I think your point of goals, objectives, why be on there if it's not driving business outcomes? So totally align with that.
And it's so different depending also on the foundations you're building on. If we're talking about a founder that already has a huge network and people know him just because who he is, then we probably will work with a different strategy. It's going to be quote unquote easier for this person. If you're a person just coming from zero, you don't work at a huge company, you're not the founder of a huge company, your current network of people that actually know you in person isn't that big, and maybe you do need to be a little bit more strict with these type of algorithm rules. But there are people out there like Rand Fishkin, the co-founder of Spark Toro. He puts on content that maybe a LinkedIn guru would tell you, never, don't do that. That's wrong. And he does amazing. I love his content. It's
It's
so,
great.
so good. He has so many followers. But someone might come and say, oh, it's because he's the co-founder of Spark Toro. Everyone knows what Spark Toro. That's why he has it. Maybe, maybe not.
I followed him. I think he did like a whiteboard Friday. So I think like also something baked in, at least some of the names you use that I knew. It's like this stuff they talk about actually matters. So I think that's always a challenge too, is like for me at times, it's like I just need to post every day without realizing like, do I have something worth saying or posting about? Even today, for example, I don't, so I didn't post today, but usually every single day I'm trying to get something out. But I think that I see that trap, that it's just like focus first on like building either a business or something that you have to say, like the SEO expert, like become an expert in something so then you can share it. But also if you're not an expert, then you're, which is so meta of your point. It's like, then I would go on there and ask more questions and not be as like thought leadership. I would be like, hey, I just read this book and here are some of my thoughts. What are experts in this space thinking? So there's so many ways you can use it, even if you haven't built a business or you're not an expert. So I love that you anchor to that everyone's execution of it will look different, no right or wrong. I love that. I think we gave a little bit of a masterclass on LinkedIn. If someone doesn't use it, they're probably like, let's get to the other content. So I want to kind of go to your life a little more personal side. You had a recent post. I think you were a picture of you snowboarding, which I've never done, so kudos to you. But you talked about what's in and what's out for this year. So I wrote down a few of them that stood out to me, but I want to just ask you, because that was maybe a month or so ago. How is that going? What is still top of mind for you for this year of what's in and what's out? Some of those like make yoga and meditation pillars, which I found to be awesome. But what are you currently focusing on from that list, or how is the in and outs going so far as we're in February of 2025?
Yeah, so going within the topic of LinkedIn, LinkedIn changed my life. If there is anyone that that doesn't work at a huge company or doesn't have a huge community. I'm Colombian. I'm from Medellin, Colombia. Now just Medellin is becoming a place where big founders are coming, digital nomads and stuff. But let's say during my time when I started my career, there wasn't like a lot of networking you could do here in Medellin at all. Um, so if you're not one of these people and you're scared of like creating content and this and that, this is kind of like what my story and here like more talking about my personal life comes from being quote unquote no one to actually being recognized, to having a crazy year last year where I was invited to host my first mastermind at SEMrush's conference, one of my favorite brands in the whole wild world in Amsterdam. Fully booked two masterminds. Was flown out with like 50 plus LinkedIn creators who go on a yacht and a mansion. Like this Colombian girl, Medellin girl, is like, what? Once they told me like it's a yacht, it's a mansion. I'm like, wait, what? Like I've never been like on a boat before. Like, what do you mean a yacht? Like, are you crazy? Um, so last year was insane. I actually got fired by one of my closest friends. He's still one of my closest friends because I was working at his agency, and it was one of the best things that has ever happened to me in my life. Because with that, I started building my own business. Currently, create like building an agency, a content marketing agency. We're working on channels like LinkedIn, Twitter, newsletters, even YouTube. So we have a whole team of copywriters, ghostwriters, video editors, designers, strategists, people, super, super talented people. And all of that happened last year in one of those crazy years where you were working in a company, you get fired because of internal things happening within the company. Then out of nowhere, you ended up building and scaling a six-figure business because of it. I traveled the world while doing it. So I lived in like 7 or 8 countries. I found new hobbies. So I do acro yoga. I love it so much. I It's so so cool. It's fun. It's kind of like I don't know, it's like gymnastics but with two people, and you can look up on Google acro yoga. I have no idea how to explain it, but
I will. I never heard of it.
relearning to play the piano, have the piano right here. Build such a supportive network of friends and mentors. Therapy became a non-negotiable in my life, and it's been amazing. Been focusing so much on yoga and my well health and my wellness and health. Remodel an apartment. Like it's been crazy. So what is Diandra doing this year? So ideally, also because we were talking before about LinkedIn, that's where it becomes kind of hard. You're actually building a business. You're doing so many other things. You're trying to make sure that operations don't go crazy and running like a chicken without a head and scaling a lean focused team that actually delivering premium content. So this year, I wanted to pick up my game on LinkedIn again because I have such a strong community, and it's amazing that maybe some of the things that I would recommend someone starting out, I don't necessarily have to do, half I should. Because I'm not posting every single day like I was before. I'm posting a lot less. Um, but it's also what we were saying. Why would you just want to post? Like, I want to post when I feel that there's something valuable that I want to share. I don't want to cringe at myself because I'm just being like another girl looking for engagement and likes and followers. So 2025 is full about building this business, picking up my game on LinkedIn from 3 to 5 times a week with actual premium content. The same premium content we're helping other clients post is the type of post that I want to have on my own profile. And of course, this year it's about supporting my mom. again, the whole story of I'm from Medellin, Colombia, the difference of my life these last 2 years is like insane, from sleeping on a couch on the floor to actually being able to support my mom and take her to so many countries and live, for her to have the life she couldn't have at my age. And yeah, I'll keep doing yoga, meditation. I think in that post I say something about keeping curiosity as my life's compass. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That was one of the ones I noted just because of curiosity being a key trait of mine. But I did enjoy, and you pulled it out, so I'll double tap on it. The whole got fired by one of my close friends. And then I think you had like the arrow to then build and scale the six-figure business because of it. So I guess it's interesting because you said you're still friends with this individual, which is probably a story in of itself. But how do you? Because my question before I knew you were still friends with them is like, how do you use that type of energy? Because I would think of it like being, I don't want to say dirty fuel, but I think of revenge, kind of chips on shoulders, as dirty fuel. It gets your car going, it gets you to destination, but you're destroying the engine in the process, because then once you built your empire to then quote unquote shit on another's, you realize it wasn't really worth it. And like, I've held all this anger. Now it doesn't seem you're there, but like, how have you tried to balance it of like, I don't want to let that negative energy drive me, but it also is like a good motivator to be like, I want to build my own thing. Talk to me about your way you've worked through that, because I've been let go and I know the feeling, so I'd be interested.
There was no anger from my side. There was a lot of fear. Yes, there was a lot of fear, but there was zero anger. I think I was a very lucky one, because this wasn't one of those, we're going to fire you in a horrible way. We're not going to support you in any way. Goodbye. We're not going to even give you a reasoning behind, or it was just out of the blues. This was more something that I was feeling as well. Just one of the things where like the time is it's over. Like it's just one of the things that had to end. They had someone new, a CMO that wasn't there before when I started. So I built everything from scratch within the marketing team, inbound marketing, content strategy, our founders thought leadership on different channels. Like I was the one that built all of that, but someone new came into the company that was one of the founders actually having more of that role. So it was just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm quote unquote not needed here anymore. There's not enough work for both of us. And even I'm saying I'm lucky because I know this is not the actual experience of most people when they get let go. It's usually very, very traumatic. It's not fun at all. It was more of like a conversational, like, hey, yeah, like I feel it too. I think this is not working anymore, in the way of like me not working there anymore. So what happened there was like building a community was so important, because this person that fired me, the founder of this company, is still one of my best friends, and he knows that I have so many abilities that maybe just weren't needed in that moment for that company. But he started referring me to other of his some of his clients, referring me to his network, the current network that I had, the content I was creating built another business. And this person that let me go even told me like, I would even tell him like, I don't feel like I'm gonna build my own thing. I'm just gonna do freelance for a while, and from there I'm gonna hop onto a new opportunity and somewhere I feel like I could be of great use. And he was like, I just know you're an entrepreneur. I know that you're going to end up building a business. And I was like, no. I saw my mom her whole life building a business, and how hard it was, and how like little sleep she would get, and how frustrating it was, and it wasn't all beautiful and just money, because people think that like people that have business that they're millionaires and everything. Um, so yeah, it was one of those things where it's like you just know you don't belong there anymore, and that life is bringing so many more things, but that door just needs to close before the next one's open. Because if you don't leave that door, you don't leave that room, you're never going to find the other rooms.
There's a lot of lessons in there. I think one that I know a lot of people struggle with is just maintaining bridges, friendships, because you just never know. And that I think is seems maybe more powerful from the other side, that the founder, the co-founder, kind of keeping it, but still, regardless, you leaning into it too and not kind of being upset that however it was kind of the time ran out. And I think that's another lesson too. Is there's this the movie about the '08 financial crisis, and there's a scene where he talks about, do you hear the music stopping? And I think that's something I've always, that at every party, the music will start at some point to stop, and it won't be like abrupt. It'll start to be this descendo, this kind of crescendo in the opposite way, where it starts at the normal volume and then eventually it's fading out. And I find it interesting on the people who can notice when the music starts to go, that because everybody's still partying, but you were able to in this moment realize, hey, I love it, it's fun, but it's over, it's starting to get to that point. How can we productively, mutually move forward together? And I think those are two lessons that I think everybody could apply, whether you're in the position of a leader or you're in the position of the person of like, just don't burn bridges. Like, you never know when you need to call someone. And I think that was a point that I liked your story, because from reading it, I was like, dang, Diandra's just like got this energy. She got fired. She's going to, but then as you share the story, it's more nuanced. I'm like, oh, that's really cool of how that worked. And even the encouragement to push you to do your own thing. I find so many times we need other people sometimes to like reinforce maybe what we think inside, or challenge us to be like, you can do this. And that's a really kind of fun story. And to see you doing it is also awesome, because it's on you as well to like jump into the pool.
There's something beautiful in also knowing when to quit, quote unquote. It's a very strong word, the word quit, but I love the analogy of more of like when the music is over and like when to leave the party. Because there's always that person that doesn't leave, and it's like you need to leave. Like, yeah, you
Yeah,
had a
get
lot
out.
of fun. We had a lot of fun with you. It was amazing when you went on that table and danced on the stage and got drunk. Yeah, you were so much fun. You were the life of the party. But now it's time you go home. Now it's time.
Yeah.
I think that's also a
Oh, I
skill
love
to
that.
know when you need to leave.
Too many people, myself included, focus on the start, and that is a challenge. When do I start? How do I start a podcast? But there's also the value in knowing, when's this over? When is the
When does it
value
transform? Maybe not
or
something
change?
so
I like that.
terrible like quit, like oh my God, like we're done. No, like
Kill it.
I the same thing with the job. It doesn't mean like it's the end. It's like it just transformed into another version of it. Like same thing when you're
Transition.
an
Yeah.
intern. You're an intern and you transform into another role, or um when you get kind of like hired into a bigger role within the same company. Like there's always transformation. Sometimes maybe that transformation isn't inside the same company. Sometimes it's into another company. Maybe it's to your own company. Maybe it's into a freelancing gigs. Like things transform, and it's important for us to also let that happen and not get stuck within like what it was and what it could be. There's so many other doors out there.
Yeah, quit is definitely a hard term, and I think there's a reframe that you just did. In the image that comes to my mind is sometimes we think of things as islands, but I would view them as really close islands, and we have to build the bridge to the next one. So to your point, that transformation is going over that bridge, and it sucks. I don't want to leave my island back there, and it was fun, and I have friends back there. But it's not quitting; it's just getting to that next island, that next progression. I like that. That's way better than quit. Diandra, I could talk to you forever. So I have one final question here. With everything changing, with AI, with so many people bringing new things, SEO's dead, no, it's evolving, all these things, whether personal or business, hopefully personal though, what should we be focusing on that might stay the same, or what should we be, with everything kind of being brought up, the news is so like, what should we as people be thinking about and trying to do as we move through this year?
I love your podcast because I feel like, oh my God, I should think about content strategy and I should give them like amazing tips. But then I always just end up talking about life and like, but I think you just think about like peace and internal peace. Yeah, not like the world peace because that's very scary to think about. Like, but internal peace, like really, honestly, Jordan, I learned that last year with so many things happening. Like my last 2 years have been insane. Like I suffered from personally a terrible heartbreak, so many things professionally ended, right? Because we're not saying ended
Transformed.
with here, transformed. Um, business wise, AI wise, content strategy wise, SEO is dead, it's not dead, so many things. Like this whole yoga and meditation, which was within my post, really, I know it's very fluffy, very woohoo, but it's so important to have internal peace with what you're doing, with your life, with things happening, and with AI. Like there's so much noise out there. And if you can calm the noise within you, what you're going to produce, if it's content wise, if it's life wise, if it's with your family, with your partner, is going to be so much more beautiful because it comes from a place of peace. Yes, they fired me. Yes, I broke up with the love of my life. Yes, I had to move countries. Yes, something happened with my family. But if we manage to have like this peace and be more human and connect more, things are just so much better. Like, isn't it just so much nicer to sit on your computer and write a LinkedIn post from a place of peace and happiness and love than from a place of, oh, I need to get so many followers and this and that. It's like, I don't know. We're being
No,
very
I love it.
woo here, but
No, not at all, Diandra. I think as much as your content strategy advice might be what some listeners want, I think more and more marketing will end and our lives will be there. So if we're not attending to that garden, that animal that our life is, then when we get done with work, it'll just be this like very scrawny animal. But as you were talking, there's this quote. I have no clue who this individual is. His name is Albert Camus. Kumas. He could be a horrible person, so please emphasize that I don't know much about this person. But he has a quote, and it says, "In the mist of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer, and that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back." And as much as you might not think of peace in those terms, I find that that has always been my goal. Is that no matter what's happening externally, if I can find peace, if I can find calm within me, that's okay. Like the world could blow up essentially. And now obviously there's people in poverty and all these other situations. I'm speaking from a place of privilege, but still I find the more you can find, no matter where you're at, this warmness, this summer, this peace in you, it doesn't matter what happens. And I find that is an invincible, kind of an anti-fragile position to be, rather than a lot of us, and myself almost every day, I find I'm very fragile. Oh, this happened, I'm going to react. And now and it's just like, no, that's so like tiresome and not progress. Like progress comes from having peace, having calm. So I love that you bring that up. Not at all woo woo.
yeah, exactly. And it's not, the vice is like, don't take action or just lay back and relax. Like that is completely different to actually acting, doing, and having so much more drive, having a Shakespearean drama type drive of having agency of your life, of your actions. Like I feel like at the end of the day, with anything we do, with our businesses, with our content, with our life, what we want to be is, what we want to have is actual agency of what we're doing. And that's never going to happen from a place of desperation or in a bad place. So yeah, I love that.
Well, Diandra, I have nothing more to add. That's a perfect way to kind of put the bow on this podcast. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing both your personal and your business wisdom. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan. It was great speaking with you, as
And
always.
this, and this is the end of the podcast. What one idea or topic of conversation stood out to you today? Write it down, share it with a friend, post it on social. The main thing is take action. That's how we go from theory to mastery. We need to practice. We need to put it into practice. Thank you for listening and being here, and I hope you tune in next week.